Hi everybody, Dr. Kellie Cassidy here, Clinical Psychologist and owner at Cassidy Psychology in Mount Pleasant and Canning Vale. I want to talk to everyone today about cyberbullying. Some of you may have seen in the news this week that a survey came out which said that parents of teenage children are more worried about cyberbullying than they are about drugs and alcohol. And I guess that's come as a bit of a surprise to most people. And a little bit surprising to me included, I guess, in that. So it made me wonder whether for parents it's because they don't understand perhaps about what's going on with cyberbullying, or maybe it's because unfortunately there's been some recent events where children have even taken their own lives because of cyberbullying, and that's pretty confronting. So I think as parents it's really important to understand what might be able to happen with our children, and certainly taking any steps that we can to prevent that. The thing about cyberbullying is, I guess where it differs from other bullying that might take place is because it can be so relentless. It can be occurring 24/7. It's not that kids are just getting bullied when they go to school, for instance, but it can be through all hours of the night. It's so invasive. It can be anonymous as well. And the biggest problem with it is that people can become disinhibited. People who would never actually bully someone face to face are quite happy to bully someone online because they're not getting that social connection. They're not able to see how the person's responding to it necessarily. They're less worried about even being caught by a teacher or someone else around them, or someone seeing that they're doing the wrong thing, because they know it's the wrong thing. And this is where part of the problem comes in and why it can be so difficult. It's also difficult because parents aren't necessarily seeing it. It's occurring on a screen or a device, and that can be very hard to detect for parents and teachers and other people involved. And that's what also kind of adds to this difficulty. One of the other problems with this type of bullying is that it can be very pervasive, and it can be quite permanent. You can actually be ruining people's reputation by the things that are being put up online, but people aren't thinking about that. So I can certainly understand from a parent's perspective how scary all of that can be. But there's lots of things that we can certainly do to avoid those sorts of situations happening. Before I get on to that though, I'll talk a little bit about, well, how might you be able to detect that something's going wrong for your children and that they might be being bullied via social media or email or instant messaging, any type of device or platform, I guess. One of the big ones is often school refusal. Kids not wanting to go to school or being reluctant to go to school. They might be more withdrawn, a lot more secrecy seeming to happen. You might see a shift in how they're using their devices and technology as well. They'll either be avoiding it, whereas that wouldn't be normal for them, or they might be overusing it, and that can usually be a good sign too. And I guess then you're also looking for general changes in their well-being. What's their mood like? What are their energy levels like? Are they behaving and acting like they normally would, or has something changed a little bit? It could be a sign that some cyberbullying is occurring. It could be a sign of something else as well, all worth checking out. Now, if you do find that your child's been bullied via digital forms, what should you do about it? Well, first and foremost, do not punish your child. Do not stop them and prevent them from using their devices. That's one of the worst things that you can do as a parent, because it enables that sense of secrecy. Kids don't want to give up their devices. This is part of their life, and we need to accept that. So punishing or removing devices isn't the answer. One of the things that certainly you need to do is block any person who is bullying your child, and know how to do that on all the different platforms. And certainly not respond. Children need to know not to respond when people are bullying them, and try and say things back. You should be reporting it to schools and to police, other people that might be involved, and presenting any evidence that you find to make sure that if this has unfortunately happened to your child, that you're collecting that evidence. You might also want to consider then seeking help for your child. If you found that it actually has had an impact on their well-being, then make sure you do get help for them and don't just kind of brush it aside and think that it's nothing. It's worth taking some time to talk about it and make sense of it. But more importantly, I guess what I wanted to flag with parents today was to think more preventatively. We're raising children at the moment who are digital natives. Using technology and devices is just part of their everyday. And we need to understand that because we might not have been raised that way. So it's really important that parents educate themselves and understand all the different platforms and apps and whatever else their kids might be using and how they work. You need to understand them in order to protect your children. I encourage families to have an internet safety plan. And in that plan, you're going to set some rules on what sort of platforms it's okay to go on, what sort of websites it's okay to go on, when can you go on devices and when can't you, those types of things. And in doing so, educate your children and give them the tools that they need to safely use the internet. Just in the same way that we teach children how to cross the road and safely do that, well, they also need rules and guidelines and strategies for what to do online. As I said before, really importantly, don't overreact if your children tell you they did the wrong thing, or even if you've found that they've gone on a website that they shouldn't have gone on. Use it as an opportunity to educate rather than to put some sort of punishment in place, because you're just more likely to create a sense of secrecy around technology use. My next tip would really be to look at investing in some sort of protective software or filter. There's lots around, kind of net nanny type things so that you can block certain things. And this can be really helpful in terms of helping to block bullies as well. Typically, particularly for younger children, make sure that computers are being used in more of a public space, like your dining room, your lounge room, rather than away in bedrooms, so that you can be aware of what sort of things they're doing online. And with that too, try and join in. Understand your child's online world and get them to tell you about it. Sit side by side with them while they're playing Minecraft or whatever they're doing, and get them to explain it to you. Not in huge detail and not in terms of being really invasive of their own privacy, but just enough so that you're exploring that world with them, and that's also going to help with your connection with your child. So that's important too. They're the sorts of things that I would really be encouraging and making sure you're putting in place to help prevent your child from even getting in a situation where they're going to be cyberbullied. If those sorts of, if you're following those types of tips and strategies I've suggested, your child's more likely to come to you much sooner if they get a really nasty message sent to them, or if somebody puts up a picture of them to try and embarrass or harass them in some way. And that's what you want to be happening. You want your child to be letting you know that these things are happening so it can be fixed quickly and easily, rather than being something that's been enduring for a long, long time. So I hope that makes sense. Happy to answer any questions about cyberbullying and its impact. Any kind of queries people might have, please, comment below. Contact us at the practice. We're more than happy to talk about it. Again, I'll reiterate, if you've found that your child is being impacted by bullying, please seek some help from a psychologist for them. It's really, really important. That's probably it for now. So as always, here at Cassidy Psychology, we're working together with you to help you flourish and thrive. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody, and I'll look forward to speaking with you again next week. Bye for now.